Everyone's favorite governor, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, ripped into the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness program and other educational policies ahead of Education Secretary Miguel Cardona's trip to Little Rock on Tuesday. In a letter to Cardona sent Monday, Sanders and Arkansas Secretary of Education Jacob Olivia wrote, "You will be in Little Rock tomorrow to tout President Biden's unconstitutional student loan forgiveness program and try and explain your department's disastrous rollout of updates to free application for federal student aid. We welcome you to our state, but we fear that this visit will only serve to highlight some of your administration's worst mistakes," the letter continued. Cardona is slated to visit Arkansas on Tuesday afternoon for a roundtable on student debt forgiveness. He is expected to also visit a FAFSA clinic for high school seniors and families at Little Rock Central High School. This trip is part of the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to fixing the broken student loan system. The Education Department wrote in a statement, President Biden has made student loan forgiveness a central focus for his administration, and he has canceled an estimated $153 billion in student loans during his presidency. Sanders called the Biden administration's forgiveness for certain student loans unfair, unwise, and unlawful. Not only does it force I guess I should do an impression of her voice. Not only does it force Arkansans who chose not to attend college to pay for others' education, not only does it offer forgiveness for past loans with no plan to address the future growth of college tuition expenses, but it has also been declared unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court, Sanders wrote. The Supreme Court last year blocked the Biden administration's student debt relief plan that would have stopped more than 40 million borrowers from receiving loan forgiveness. Supreme Court is terrible for that. In an effort to circumvent other legal challenges, the Biden administration rolled out a new loan forgiveness program that would target certain groups of borrowers for relief. The proposal unveiled earlier this month would cover borrowers on income-driven repayment plans, people who have been paying loans for more than 20 years, those who went to low-value institutions, people experiencing hardship, and those with unpaid interest growth. If the plan was finalized, the administration would begin this fall canceling up to $20,000 in interest for millions of borrowers and full loan forgiveness for millions more, the White House said earlier this month. Sanders said she is also deeply concerned regarding what she called a mishandling of the FAFSA program after the department rolled out updated forms last year. FAFSA provides a crucial avenue for young Arkansans seeking federal student aid, she wrote, adding later, the U.S. Department of Education's FAFSA platform, though, is functionally non-operational, causing extreme delays, complexity, and difficulty for students and families. The Education Department has faced mounting scrutiny in recent months over the botched rollout of FAFSA forms that has prompted months of delays and incorrect financial aid information being sent to colleges. There's a little bit more here. I guess I'll read the last part of the letter. The botched FAFSA update, the unlawful student debt forgiveness program, and so much more created a mess. I hope that your visit to Little Rock offers more than just empty words for struggling Arkansans. Oh man, what a letter. So I guess if I were to start this off, we can go in chronological order. Calling Biden's student loan forgiveness program unconstitutional because the Supreme Court blocked a previous attempt that he made to forgive student loans, I think is really goofy. Um, and I'll make this comparison. So the president that Sanders served under when she was the press secretary, Trump, he attempted to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. And when he was unable to do this, he tried to get around it by, in his tax cut, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2017, having a provision that repealed the individual mandate of Obamacare that in effect did the same thing, even if it was done through another means. So what the Biden administration is doing is saying, okay, you know what? Supreme Court's got some really right-wing judges on there who are not going to support any type of forgiveness. So let's see what we can do that is within our constitutional legality. Otherwise, they would have gone to prison or been in jail for this. To get around their blocking of our attempt to offer people relief for, from the penalty of going to school and then having a anchor by your leg for the rest of your life, paying off all this money. So I don't see what Biden is doing as being any different than what Trump did, where you don't get it the way you want, so you look for another means to get something similar, if not maybe not as full scale, but it still is better than nothing, or at least from his vantage point is still more, gets him closer to what he wanted without dealing with the nonsense of the U.S. Supreme Court. My favorite comment from Sanders is it's written, not only does it force Arkansans who chose not to attend college to pay for others' education. That's stupid. That's an extremely dumb, ignorant, ridiculous statement by this woman. I'm gonna tell you why. People paying taxes things they have no involvement or engagement with all the damn time. They pay for these overseas wars in countries that they couldn't even find on the damn map. So the idea that because someone else didn't go to college, they're automatically going to have or should have a problem with a person who did go, getting their college paid for by the person who didn't go, I just think is complete insanity. I don't see where paying for people to get an education is any worse than paying for all of these, you want to talk about unconstitutional conflicts overseas that Sanders and the rest of her ilk have no problem with Americans paying for. Um, Not only does it offer forgiveness for past loans with no plans to address the future growth of college tuition expenses. That's actually a good point. That's something she said that makes a little bit of sense to me. That there should be a plan to address college tuition expenses ballooning and getting larger, every year. Uh, the problem is the person who ran with the idea of free college didn't win, and so we're kind of just going off of. But that I'll give her credit for that one. I think there should be some plan to address the higher cost of tuition, even though you could argue this is kind of a plan to address it by forgiving people who, depending on what their circumstances were. But I digress. I'll give her credit for that one. It has also been declared unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court. Who cares? Honestly, like, who gives a damn? The Supreme Court didn't they declare 2 years ago that Roe v. Wade was unconstitutional, and people are still pissed off? So we're supposed to just blindly. So I already said before that it really doesn't matter that much, because there are still things within the law that Biden can do to assist people with their student debt forgiveness. So they may have struck down. They may have won the battle, but they're losing the war, is the way I look at it. But no, I'm just astonished at how these people speak out of both sides of their mouth. Honestly, like, I guarantee if you went up to Miss Sanders and you said, "Hey, do you support people going to college to better themselves and be able to actually dig up the," because we talked before, the real reason that most of these conservatives are fine with these schools costing so much damn money is because they know that college traditionally is the most secure route for a person climbing up in the economic ladder. So they create, well, not them, but just the way of our governing and laws and policies. We create a pyramid scheme where you go to college trying to get this piece of paper that's going to help you make more money. And then by the time you get out of college, you're so far accumulating in debt that you end up spending an inordinate number of years even trying to have the chance to climb out of this hole that has been dug for you. Um, and it's just really sad that, like, we see the same disingenuous arguments every year. Like, oh, you remember DeSantis? I don't think a truck driver should be paying for someone to take gender studies. Just they don't care about substantively addressing the question of how are people who we incentivize to go to school supposed to pay off all of this stuff that already costs more than like, remember, we live in an era where most people can't even afford $1,000 emergency. Some of these schools cost tens of thousands of dollars for 1 year. But she doesn't care. It's easy to not care when your daddy was governor and the only reason you had that job or your previous one is Trump's spokesperson. is due to who your father was and his place in Republican politics. So I hope that the education trip for the education secretary in Arkansas goes good, because that seems like he's going to be the only public official there that actually is trying to address the plights of the people in that state when it comes to this issue.